The Galactic Empire could not believe it. A single colony armed with so-called ancient artillery had destroyed their proud warships. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, the Empire looked weak. But weakness was not something the Empire would allow. High command gathered in their fortress station, voices rising in anger. "They humiliated us with outdated weapons," one admiral roared. Another hissed, "We must respond with overwhelming force. Crush them before others see our shame." So the Empire assembled a second fleet, 10 times larger, with dreadnoughts, carriers, and countless destroyers. No more games. This was meant to erase not just the Terran colony, but the legend of human defiance itself. Meanwhile, on the Terran colony, the survivors worked in silence. Engineers cleaned the massive guns, reloading and adjusting their strange, glowing cores. Soldiers whispered nervously, "Can they fire again? Or was it luck?" Even the Terran commanders didn't fully understand the weapons. These old cannons had been built generations ago, using technology Earth never revealed to the galaxy. Now, with sensors warning of a new armada approaching, the truth became clear. The Empire would not stop until humanity was broken. Night fell on the colony. Families gathered underground. Soldiers lined the artillery fields. The massive barrels pointed to the stars, glowing faintly as if waiting. Then the ground shook, not from the guns, not from battle, but from the Empire's arrival. The second fleet darkened the sky, blotting out the stars with endless rows of ships. A voice echoed across the colony's comms, cold, mocking. "Terrans, surrender now. Your little trick will not save you again. This time you face the true power of the Empire." The people looked to their commanders, to the silent ancient guns, to the glowing light deep within their barrels. Would the miracle happen again, or was humanity about to be crushed? Cliffhanger. The order came from the Empire fleet. "All ships, fire on my command." And the night sky lit up with the first wave of plasma fire raining down on the Terran colony. Thousands of plasma blasts rained down from the Empire's fleet, turning the heavens into fire. The ground shook as explosions tore through the colony's shields. Buildings cracked, dust and smoke filled the air, and the people of the Terran outpost braced for the end. The alien commander sneered on his bridge. "See, their little relics are nothing. End them." But then, the guns moved. The ancient artillery, half buried in the soil, began to glow brighter than before. Strange energy rippled across their surfaces, blue and white lightning crawling along their barrels. Terran engineers screamed from their bunkers. "The cores are overloading." No one had touched the controls. No one had given the order. The guns were waking up on their own. The first cannon roared to life. Not with a shell, not with anything the Empire could understand. Instead, a beam of raw energy, compressed and burning like a star, tore through the darkness. One dreadnought vanished in an instant. Not destroyed, erased. The Empire fleet panicked. "Shields up! Counterfire! Spread out!" But the guns did not stop. One by one, the old weapons awakened, firing with terrifying rhythm. Each shot shook the world itself. Each blast ripped apart ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Carriers broke in half. Destroyers vanished into burning debris. Cruisers exploded like paper set on fire. Terran soldiers stood in silence, wide-eyed, as the sky became a storm of shattered metal and burning wreckage. What was supposed to be their grave had turned into a battlefield of vengeance. The alien commander shouted desperately, "Fall back! Fall back now!" But it was too late. The last of the ancient guns fired together, unleashing a wave of destruction so powerful it split the sky open with light. The Empire's flagship, the pride of their armada, was torn apart in seconds. Its final scream echoed across every channel before silence swallowed the battlefield. And then, silence truly came. The sky cleared. Wreckage rained down like meteors. The second fleet, the great force meant to erase humanity, was gone. In the command bunker, the Terran officers stared at the gun displays, glowing faintly as the barrels cooled. One officer whispered in disbelief, "These aren't old weapons." "There's something far more dangerous. The colony lived. The Empire had been broken." But one question now echoed louder than the victory itself. If these were only Earth's ancient guns, what else had humanity been hiding? The galaxy would soon find out. The battle that was supposed to end in minutes dragged on into hours. The Galactic Empire's fleet, an unstoppable wall of steel and fire, was burning in Terran skies. Warships broke apart, capital ships turned into drifting wrecks. For every volley they fired, the colony's cannons answered with something deadlier. But the most shocking thing wasn't the battle itself. It was the fact that the entire galaxy was watching. Dozens of news drones had followed the Imperial fleet expecting to film a simple conquest. Instead, their cameras captured the impossible. Ancient human artillery tearing apart one of the most powerful fleets in the known stars. Across neutral worlds, holoscreens flickered with live feeds of the chaos. In the trade hubs, merchants stopped working to stare at the burning alien armada. In black market bars, smugglers whispered nervously, wondering if humans had been hiding their true strength all along. And in the halls of rival empires, leaders leaned forward suddenly uneasy. Whispers began to ripple everywhere. How are humans doing this? Those are relic guns. They should be useless. Did the Empire walk into a trap? On the colony itself, Terran soldiers didn't have time for whispers. They were too busy fighting. Inside the command bunker, Colonel Hale stood before the tactical display. More red enemy icons vanished as Terran shells found their marks. The air shook with each cannon's recoil, rumbling through the underground walls. But as effective as the artillery was, everyone knew the truth. The Empire wouldn't give up so easily. "Colonel," Lieutenant Reyes reported, sweat dripping down his temple. "Scanners show more ships inbound. A full reinforcement fleet is on the way." Hale gave a short nod. "Then we dig in deeper. Reload the guns. We'll give them the same welcome." Outside, the colony was scarred. Forests were burning, farms destroyed, rivers boiling from plasma fire. Yet, through all the devastation, the artillery silos kept rising, one after another, glowing with hidden power. When the second wave of alien ships emerged from hyperspace, the galaxy held its breath. Hundreds more warships, far larger than the first fleet, appeared in formation. Their commander wasted no time. "Concentrate fire on the ground batteries," he roared. "Overwhelm them before they reload." Beams of light and plasma storms rained from the heavens. The colony shook as if the world itself was splitting apart. Whole mountain ranges were flattened, but beneath the earth the bunkers held strong. Colonel Hale's voice echoed through the comms. "Fire at will." The cannons answered one by one, their thunder shaking the sky. Massive slugs shot upward, faster than the eye could follow. They ripped through the second fleet with the same merciless precision. A battlecruiser shattered in a single hit, its wreckage colliding with another ship, dragging both into a fiery explosion. A dreadnought tried to raise new shield frequencies, but the Terran slugs sliced through it, cutting the ship open like a knife through metal. On nearby neutral worlds, the live feeds captured every moment. Billions of eyes watched in awe and disbelief. For centuries, the Empire had ruled unchallenged. Now, before the whole galaxy, they were being humiliated. In one council chamber of a rival power, a minister whispered, "If humans can do this with old guns, what are they hiding on Earth itself?" Another answered, pale with fear, "Perhaps this is only a fraction of their true arsenal." Back in space, the alien commander tried desperately to hold control. His fleet was collapsing, panic spreading among captains. "We cannot withstand this," one shouted over comms. "Our losses are unsustainable," another cried. "They are tearing us apart." The commander slammed a fist on the console. "We are the Empire. We do not retreat." But even as he spoke, another blast shook his flagship. Warning sirens screamed. His officers turned pale. "Commander," one gasped. "The humans, they are targeting us directly." The commander froze. On his display, he saw it. Multiple Terran artillery locks focused on his flagship. The biggest cannons on the colony had rotated, glowing with deadly power. In the bunker, Colonel Hale gave the final order. "All batteries, fire." The sky lit up. A storm of metal tore through space, slamming into the Empire's command ship. Shields shattered, armor peeled away. The flagship groaned as explosions rippled through its decks. For a moment it drifted, half dead, before a final Terran slug ripped straight through its core. The Empire's proud flagship, the heart of the invasion, exploded in a burst of fire and silence. The galaxy gasped. News feeds froze on the image of the burning wreck. For the first time in living memory, the Empire had lost a flagship in open battle, and to weapons it had mocked as relics. On the colony, cheers erupted in the bunker. But Hale did not celebrate. His eyes stayed fixed on the display. "Do not cheer yet," he said quietly. "They will send more. The Empire cannot accept humiliation. This was only the beginning." Above the colony, the wreckage of alien ships floated like a graveyard in space. Survivors fled in broken vessels, broadcasting desperate messages to warn their leaders. And across the stars, the whispers changed once again. Humans are not finished. They fight like no other species. Perhaps the galaxy has awakened a monster. The truth was undeniable now. Humanity had survived the Empire's first storm. They had shattered fleets with ancient artillery, and the galaxy, for the first time, began to fear what humanity might do next. The wreckage of the first Imperial fleets drifted in Terran skies, glowing embers scattered across the void. The galaxy had already witnessed the unthinkable, ancient human artillery tearing apart ships that were supposed to be invincible. But the battle was far from over. From the edge of the system, a shadow emerged, bigger, stronger, deadlier. The Empire's main flagship, a colossal warship, larger than a city, bristling with weapons that could burn continents, entered the fight. Its arrival silenced even the Terran bunker. On screens, the vessel dwarfed every ship around it. In trading hubs across the galaxy, whispers turned into dread. That is the Emperor's flagship. No colony has ever survived its wrath. Inside the command bunker, Lieutenant Reyes's voice shook. "Sir, it's here. That thing has more firepower than our entire colony." Colonel Hale's face was stone. He did not flinch. "Then we will aim higher. Load the heavy batteries." The flagship advanced, its engines glowing like suns. Around it, the surviving Imperial ships regrouped, emboldened by its presence. The alien fleet opened fire again, plasma storms and energy beams raining down on the colony. The ground shook violently. Mountains cracked. Whole districts vanished in flames. Families huddled deeper in bunkers as the world trembled beneath the Empire's fury. But the Terran guns did not fall. Silent, Battery 6 ready. Battery 9 locked. All heavy artillery charged. Colonel Hale gave the order. "Target the flagship. Fire when ready." The colony roared. Massive shells screamed upward, cutting through the heavens. The first volley struck escort ships, shattering them instantly. The second slammed against the flagship's shields. For the first time, the Terran saw something different. The flagship's defenses held. The shells burned against its barrier, exploding in violent flashes, but the ship pushed forward, undeterred. In the alien command chamber, the Imperial Admiral laughed bitterly. Finally, their toys are useless against true power. His crew joined him, voices dripping with vengeance. "Erase the colony, Admiral. Show them what the Empire truly is." The flagship's main weapon charged. A beam of pure energy wide as a river surged downward. It struck the colony with godlike fury, vaporizing whole valleys. The shockwave rattled bunkers, knocking officers off their feet. "Damage report," Reyes shouted. "Civilian districts destroyed. Thousands dead, but, sir, our core batteries are still operational." Hale's fist clenched. His voice was iron. Then fire again. Harder. The guns answered. Another barrage launched into the sky, each shot more precise than the last. The flagship shook as the slug slammed into it, cracking its shields. On the Imperial bridge, alarms blared. Officers stared at the readings in disbelief. "Admiral, they're cannons. They're overloading our shields. Impossible. No primitive weapons should..." Another blast struck. The shields flickered. For the first time, the colossal vessel trembled. The Admiral's laughter vanished. His expression darkened. "Divert full power to shields. Crush them before they break through." Back on the colony, Hale stood tall as his officers worked frantically. Every shot mattered. Every second was survival. "Guns 1 through 10 synchronize," Hale ordered. "Aim for their reactor core." The ground shook again as the Terran cannons fired together, their thunder rolling across the sky. This time, the flagship's shields collapsed. The slugs tore into its armor, ripping open vast sections of the hull. Fires erupted. Entire weapon decks went dark. Hundreds of alien crew were pulled into the void as the ship groaned under the assault. The Admiral's voice turned into a roar. "Hold this ship together. Return fire!" The flagship unleashed its fury, hammering the colony with everything it had left. Plasma storms, missile barrages, energy blasts, waves of destruction poured down. The world beneath looked like it was ending. But still, the guns fired. Inside the bunker, officers watched as the tactical display lit up with damage reports from the enemy ship. The flagship was wounded, crippled, but still alive. Lieutenant Reyes whispered, almost afraid of his own words. "Sir, if we break their flagship, the rest will scatter." Colonel Hale's eyes never left the screen. "Then let's break it." The final order came cold and sharp. All batter. For years, the galaxy believed humanity was weak, soft-world creatures, too fragile to face the cold, cruel reality of interstellar war. When the Galactic Empire's fleet arrived at the edge of Terran space, the galaxy waited for the show. Hundreds of alien warships moved like a wall of metal, their engines burning bright against the stars. Their guns could destroy moons. Their shields were said to be unbreakable, and their commanders were confident, too confident. In their eyes, this war would be over before it even began. The target was simple: a small Terran colony world near the border. A farming world barely defended, with a few military outposts and scattered settlements. To the Empire, it was the perfect place to send a message. Destroy the colony and the rest of humanity would kneel. Inside the alien command ship, officers laughed as they studied the scans. "Look at this," one of them sneered, pointing at the readings. "Primitive ground cannons. They are actually keeping old artillery in silos. Do humans fight wars with museum pieces?" The room erupted in cruel laughter. Another officer added, "Maybe they plan to throw rocks at us next." Even the alien commander smirked. Pathetic. By the time they realize what true war is, they'll be dust. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Merchants, smugglers, and rival empires all repeated the same line. Humans are finished. Their weapons are too old. Their colonies will fall. But on the Terran colony, there was no laughter. Families huddled inside shelters. Children were rushed underground. Farmers abandoned their fields to join the militia. The people knew what was coming. Above them, the sky glowed with the arrival of the Empire's massive fleet. And deep below the ground, something began to stir. The colony's old artillery silos, massive cannons built in Earth's earliest days of space war, came alive. Machines hummed. Rusted doors shook. Systems that had slept for decades started to wake. In the command bunker, Colonel Marcus Hale stood before a glowing display. His officers looked nervous. One of them, a young lieutenant, whispered, "Sir, these guns are outdated." "They were never meant for a war like this." Hale didn't look away from the screen. "Outdated doesn't mean useless. These cannons were built by humans. That means they were built to last." Outside, the alien fleet moved closer, their weapons charged, preparing for the first strike. To them, it was a simple task: wipe the colony from the map. But as they advanced, their scanners began to flicker. Strange readings pulsed from the ground. Energy spikes, power levels that made no sense. On the alien bridge, officers frowned. "Commander, their ground weapons." "They are powering up," the alien commander scoffed. "So what? Ancient cannons will not even scratch our shields," but the readings grew stronger. The cannons were no longer weak. Something inside them was different. Something dangerous. Inside the Terran bunker, warning lights flashed red as the artillery systems reached full charge. The ground trembled. The old guns, once called relics, glowed with new power. "Status?" Hale demanded. "All batteries ready," his officer replied. "Sir, the energy levels, they're far higher than old specs. Someone has upgraded these weapons." Hale allowed himself the faintest smile, then let the galaxy laugh. "We'll give them a reason to choke on it." Above the colony, the first alien warship locked weapons. A giant beam of energy surged toward the surface. It should have been the end. But before the blast could land, the first Terran cannon fired. The shot screamed upward, a dense metal slug moving at impossible speed. It ripped through the atmosphere and slammed straight into the alien ship. For a heartbeat, the galaxy went silent. Then the alien warship, shielded, armored, and armed with the best weapons of the Empire, exploded in a ball of fire. Every scanner across the system lit up with shock. Alien officers froze. Entire crews stared in horror. The humans had just destroyed a capital ship. With ancient artillery, Colonel Hale gave the order, "Fire everything." The ground shook as more cannons roared to life, unleashing a storm of firepower that the galaxy had never seen before. And for the first time, the mighty Galactic Empire realized this war would not be easy. This was not a weak species. This was not a soft enemy. This was humanity, and they had only just begun. The silence after the first alien ship exploded was louder than any cannon fire. Across the void, hundreds of warships froze in disbelief. They had just watched one of their strongest vessels torn apart, not by advanced plasma, not by exotic alien weapons, but by an ancient Terran artillery gun. On the alien flagship, chaos erupted. Officers shouted over one another. "Impossible. Our shield should have stopped it." Another voice cried out, "Commander, their cannon fired at kinetic speed beyond calculations." "That slug, it tore straight through." The alien commander slammed a clawed hand on the console. His eyes glowed with fury. "One ship means nothing. Their old tricks won't work twice. Charge all weapons. Burn that colony to ash." The order echoed through the fleet. Energy beams powered up. Plasma cannons glowed with killing light. But on the colony below, the humans were ready. Deep in the command bunker, Colonel Marcus Hale stood like stone. He heard the distant rumble of the colony shaking as the ancient artillery silos fired again. His officers, young and nervous, looked to him for direction. "Target the closest battleship," Hale commanded. "Synchronize the guns. Let's see how long their arrogance lasts." The cannons roared. Massive metal slugs launched upward, cutting through the skies like thunderbolts. Unlike missiles, there were no trails of fire, no warning signals, only silence, followed by devastating impact. In space, the alien fleet reacted too late. 3 warships were struck in seconds. One lost its engines, spinning helplessly into the void. Another was ripped in half, fire spilling from its core. The third tried to raise shields, but the slug punched through, tearing a hole so wide the ship's atmosphere vented in a single gasp. Billions across the galaxy watched live feeds. News drones had followed the fleet, expecting to record a quick Terran defeat. Instead, they now broadcast scenes of an empire being humiliated. The whispers began to spread again, but this time they carried a different tone. How are humans doing this? How are relic guns destroying warships? The answer, known only to the colonists, was simple. Earth never abandoned its old weapons. They had been rebuilt, reforged, and hidden away. Not for show, not for history, but for survival. In the bunker, Lieutenant Reyes turned to Colonel Hale, voice trembling. "Sir, the energy readings are still climbing. These cannons aren't just firing shells. They've been modified with rail accelerators. The impact speeds are—" Hale cut him off with a cold smile. "Fast enough to turn arrogance into wreckage." Above them, the Empire struggled to adapt. Ships pulled back into new formations, raising their defenses. The alien commander barked, "Spread shields wide. Rotate frequencies. Those humans cannot keep this up forever." But even as he spoke, another Terran shell ripped straight through his escort ship, vaporizing it in a bloom of fire. The commander's rage turned to something colder. Fear. He had studied humans before this war. Primitive, yes. Fragile, yes. But stubborn beyond reason. He had dismissed the old reports, stories of Earth's brutal wars in its past. Now, as one ship after another fell to artillery fire, those stories no longer felt like myths. They were supposed to be weak, he muttered under his breath. Why do they fight like this? Back on the colony, alarms blared as the Empire finally retaliated. Plasma beams rained down from orbit, turning forests to glass, shattering farms, and ripping apart empty buildings. The ground quaked under the assault, but the bunkers held, and the guns answered back. One by one, more silos opened. Dozens of massive cannons rose from hidden underground vaults, their barrels glowing with power. "Battery 3 locked on target," an officer shouted. "Battery 5 ready to fire," another confirmed. Colonel Hale gave the order with a steady voice. "Release everything." The colony lit up like a storm. A wall of fire erupted from the ground, every cannon firing in perfect rhythm. The slugs cut through the void like spears of iron, each one carrying enough kinetic energy to level a city. The alien fleet staggered under the barrage. Ships exploded. Shields collapsed. Engines went dark. Panic spread across the Empire's command channels. "Retreat!" one captain begged. "No, hold formation," another shouted. "We are being slaughtered," a third screamed. The commander tried to hold order, but his fleet was breaking. He watched in horror as his flagship's scanner showed an impossible truth. The humans were targeting ships with precision, one after another, not wasting a single shot. It wasn't random fire. It was strategy. The aliens had come to humiliate humans with overwhelming power, but now it was the Empire being humiliated. by weapons they had mocked as useless relics. On the colony, Colonel Hale stared at the tactical map. Alien icons blinked out one after another, replaced by clouds of debris. His lieutenant whispered, almost in awe, "Sir, they underestimated us." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Good, let them. Every empire that forgets what humans are capable of will learn the hard way." The battle raged for hours. Alien ships continued to fall. The once proud fleet of the Galactic Empire, which had expected an easy victory, now looked like prey caught in a trap. And yet, even as their armada burned, the alien commander refused to retreat. His pride would not allow it. He raised his voice, cold and furious. "Prepare the second wave. Send for reinforcements. We will bury these Deathworlders under the full might of the Empire.